Peace, 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 IG. Daniel KC1 NCF tapping in with your family. And today's daily survival tip, number 17, is you are only as prepared as those around you. You are only as prepared as those around you. This is a fairly, simple concept to understand. The reality is that while you should focus on, as an individual, getting yourself into a condition and a position where if there was no help, if you were the last person in your city or in your state after a major disaster, you would have what is necessary to sustain your life and to potentially even rebuild your life to some degree or another without the aid of others. You should be able to, or strive to, put yourself in a position that if you were the last person in your city, I'm talking about every member of your immediate family, somehow lost their lives. And I don't want to sound doomy and gloomy, but just to be clear with what I'm saying, you want to put yourself in a position that if every single member of your family lost their lives, and in a natural disaster, somehow you're the only person in your entire city that survived, that you would be able to sustain yourself, you would be able to continue living on, have the necessary skills, have the necessary resources, have the necessary knowledge. Peace, peace, peace. This is Sabrina. Thanks for happening. Have the necessary drive to actually live, right? And make it out of that situation. Say, it was a hurricane, tornado, something big, an earthquake, and somehow everybody else died in your city, right? And you had to hunker in place, right? For 2 weeks, 3 weeks until floodwaters receded. You had enough food, enough water to get you through that 3-week period. You had enough emergency supplies to get you through that period, enough light, enough, energy, enough skills, enough strength to actually make it through a 3-week period, and then have to traverse that danger zone to get out of that area to where others have survived, right? So imagine you want to put yourself in a position to where, to be clear, where if you had to shelter in place, you have enough in your place, you have enough on hand to last you for 3 weeks minimum, to last you for enough time that things settled, but then you had the strength, the resources. You had a go bag that you could take out of that environment where you hunkered for 3 weeks because for whatever reason you couldn't move, and then you could take that go bag and you could travel outside of your city to where a zone where others were not affected. What am I saying? You want to be able to do that having enough things on hand, and then already having a system set up for actually being displaced as well. But the reality is that you're better off trying to survive in a group. You're better off trying to, or you're better off using your community and the people around you to be able to make it through a disaster type situation. While as an individual, again, you should be able to self-sustain. Likely you're not going to get into an incident where you are the only survivor. If you survive, there will be others that survive, and you want to be able to depend on the people who are around you. You want to be able to not be looked at in the eyes of those around you as a mark, as a potential, come up, because they're not prepared. You want to be able to look at the people around you and know that they are friends and not potential foes, because you've helped the people around you prepare. You want the people around you to have gotten into some degree of preparedness, so that if the situation comes where, you're in trouble, as far as, your area, there's a disaster that happened, that they have preps that they can rely on and aren't going to rely on what you have. You don't have to worry about having to feed your building. You don't want to worry about having to feed your neighborhood, having to clothe your neighborhood, having to provide energy to your neighborhood, because people in your building, your neighborhood, your community already have some degree of preparedness. And if you help them to gain some of that, you gain a degree of respect. You gain a degree of security. You gain a degree of protection, knowing that the people in your area trust you, and will, if anything, at the very least, or at the very most, the interaction would be that they're coming to you for guidance. They're coming to you to check on you. They're coming to you for assistance and not to take you for what you got. Because in a disaster situation, in a large-scale emergency, in any given area, meaning within a city, within a neighborhood, within a state, everyone is not going to be prepared. That's the reality. And if everyone's not prepared, those who have not prepared are going to look for emergency assistance. They're going to be looking for emergency services. And outside of the tradition or the fire department, the police, the EMS, those in their community, in their area who may be prepared, who may have been more fortunate enough or wise enough to put provisions in place, they're going to look to those people to help them. And if you're that person, if you're the person who has what they need to survive and to sustain life in these type of situations, then they're going to come for you. But you want that to be in a positive manner. You want that to be because, again, you got out ahead of it and put yourself in a position to render aid and to assist and guide as a leader. So again, daily survival tip number 17, extremely important. You are only as prepared as those around you. If you are prepared and your household is prepared and the building or the street you live on is prepared, and then the neighborhood you live in is prepared, and then in the greater community around it is prepared, then everyone, while they may have in their individual homes and in their individual situations access to resources, information, have skills, have a knowledge, and have preps in place that each household is straight, they can do. Where one might fall short, another one can pick up. It could be a community effort to rebuild the neighborhood or to lock down the neighborhood until they're able to get themselves out of the situation or until some kind of aid comes. That's the best way to go about it. So yes, do what you have to do to put yourself in a position that if you were the last one alive within a city, which is of course very unlikely, I just wanted to paint a picture, right? But you would be able to survive 3 weeks. Let's say even, if possible, 3 months. You could go 3 months. You stored up enough food in your home that you could eat for 90 days. You either have stored up enough water that you could drink for 90 days, or you would be able to go get water and have the means to purify and clean that water. You have enough flashlights and batteries or headlamps or whatever type of lighting necessary in order to be able to move around. You have a map of the city, you have a map of the state, you have a map of the region, and are able to get from point A to point B. You have energy, some kind of maybe solar power, a generator, or fire making capabilities. You stored up enough sterno cans or propane or butane with a camp stove so that you could heat up your food or provide heat for your home or whatever space that you're in, because you might not even be in the home, right? But if you store up and if you prepare yourself so that you could survive that 90 days, and then you also have a go bag put aside for in case of displacement. You hunkered down for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and then when things got short or you realized no one was coming, you're able to now uproot yourself from where you're at and traverse through that disaster zone and make it to another adjacent city that wasn't as affected or wasn't affected at all, and boom, you made it 90 days and then was able to uproot yourself and move and make it to another place. You want to get there as an individual or as a household, right? But the goal should be to prepare the others around you, because again, you're going to be stronger within a prepared community than you will just being prepared on your own. It's going to be a lot more easy to pull. It's going to make it a lot easier if you're able to pull on the resources, the advice, the strength of others, and the input of others, and you all hold each other up within the community. So that is daily survival tip number 17. You are only as prepared as those around you. Daniel Casey, 1NCF, signing out. Peace.